Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. Everything just caught up with me, and I ended up falling asleep. But we have Heidi's sister, Summer, here, and what we're going to do is I'll bring her up, and we'll do as we normally do. Let her introduce herself and whatnot, and um, and we'll get straight to it. So Heidi Wagner is uh, a woman from Utah who was, I think she was newly married at the time, and she was murdered by her husband. So someone wants to come on, and she wants to, one, build awareness for domestic violence, and two, she wants to get her sister's name back out there. So if you can hit the like to get the video out into the algorithm and share the live to spread its awareness. So this is Summer, ladies and gentlemen. Summer, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are?
Yeah, my name is Summer, and I am Heidi's older sister. I'm 6 years older, and I also live in Utah.
Yep. And could you just tell us all about Heidi so we have a feel for who she is as a
Yeah.
person?
Yeah, Heidi was the youngest of eight, five girls, three boys. She was independent, feisty, stubborn. She was funny. In the picture, I don't know if it does her justice. She had a great magnetic smile, a great sense of humor. Even though I was older than her, I looked up to her like I just wanted to be brave and courageous like her, you know? And she was a real light in this world. And she was, when we were younger, she was the baby, so we all would take care of her. And as she grew, she came into her own, probably from being the baby, not wanting to be bossed around or coddled anymore. She loved being outdoors. She was a dog mom of two. She liked to party. She loved holidays. Christmas and Halloween were her favorite. She was just, she was 25 when she was taken. She was just full of life and full of laughter, and I miss her every day. So,
Sorry, I muted myself. She'd still only be fairly young now, wouldn't she? She'd still only be around about 39, if I'm right.
yeah, so I'm friends with, yeah, she would be. I'm friends with some of her friends on social medias, and it's bittersweet seeing them get married, seeing them have kids, seeing them buy homes. It's just like her best friend from first grade, watching her have baby after baby. She's had three kids now, and I just wonder if my sister would have ever had kids of her own, or if she would have gone back to school, or, we talked about going to Hawaii together because that's where she went on her honeymoon. And she was very matter of fact, and she knew how to save money. And like when we went on the trip, yeah, she had a lot of plans.
Because I've I looked when I looked into the case. I saw her age at the time and that, and I'm just a bit younger than her, so I was like, wow, she's like my age, and it's so sad that you know she was taken so soon, and so just so the chat know what happened, should we go through um from day one, like from the wedding, or like was there any signs from the wedding or before? Was there any signs that there was domestic violence going on?
No, no. She was married for 3 years at the time she was taken, and I believe she was with him for maybe a couple years before that. He was like her second relationship in her whole life, you know. She'd had a brief one with when she was 18, and the first one seemed kind of unhealthy and like he was possessive. But her husband was a little older than she was, and he always struck me as weird, like not like anything nefarious or scary, but his energy around me always bothered me. And I thought maybe because we both had anxiety, that our anxiety just bounced off of, each other.
Yeah,
He seemed weird and OCD, like he really liked things clean. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if there was a drop of water on the floor, he would like obsessively wipe the floor, you know?
yeah. So
Mhm.
um, obviously, when it happened, it went to
Mhm.
trial the first
Mm.
time, and he was convicted.
Yes.
You've got justice and things like that, and
Mhm.
then there was a second trial,
Mhm.
and he got acquitted.
Yep. Yep. The first trial to the second trial, night and day. The first trial was just like he had a defense attorney named, oh mercy, his first defense attorney, his name escapes me, but he came up to my mom and said he wouldn't say anything bad about Heidi. He said this to my mom. Um, we were staying, the first week, we were staying at the hotel across the street from the courthouse, and his lawyer was staying there too. And he came up behind my mom and he said, I just want you to know I won't say anything bad about Heidi. And we were just so perplexed. We were like, what could you say bad about Heidi? Like, I mean, no one's perfect, right? But she was the one that was killed, you know?
Yeah, she was the victim.
And yeah, she was. But the second trial, they just were allowed to say all kinds of things, and it was allowed as his defense. Hmm. There was really no pushback the second time.
So
And
do you know why there was a second trial? Was there a reason
oh,
like uh,
there was like a decimal point in the measurements in the police report. And his first attorney tried to bring it up, and it was just kind of like overruled. And I believe they even like owned that there was a mistake, that there was a decimal. So there were different stories. One was that she was in the bathroom and she came out and fell into his arms. And so the decimal point changed whether she would have been able to physically walk out after being shot in the head. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that's how.
he's not claiming self-defense or anything like that. He's claiming
No,
she come out the
no.
bathroom and fell into his arms.
There were several stories. The first story, before I talked to you a little bit about, there was a media gag put on this story. So a lot wasn't known by the media until after his arrest, a year, 9 months later. But at first, he had said he'd seen a black man. And we live in Utah. There's not a lot of black people in Utah. Um, but there was a guy that lived a couple townhomes down that was black. And he had walked into their house or tried to get into their house once. So I thought, before we suspected him, I thought maybe that guy had been the black man that my brother-in-law, I was thinking my brother-in-law at the time, had seen. And so when that got out, it was around the time of Trayvon Martin, the black youth in Florida that was killed by George Zimmerman. I don't know if you know that story.
No.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. He got off. He shouldn't have. But um, news outlets wanted to pick up the story because he had accused a black man. And so my other sister was going to go on and do an interview, and the detectives were like, nope, no interviews, don't do this, we're doing an investigation. So there really wasn't a lot of press on it until after he was arrested, if that makes sense.
You've gone.
Sorry if I'm confusing you.
Can everyone in the chat hear all right?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Oh, sorry. Dang technology.
So you were saying about the other case.
Mm,
We've got a creator in here. He said that case is messed up. So I'm
uh,
guessing that's why he knows about it. He's probably covered it at some point. So so your case, it literally it come down to a decimal point.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
wow.
that's how he got the retrial. And retrials aren't that common, right?
Yeah.
But apparently somewhere in his family there was some money or something, and they must have come down hard. Yeah. And in the first trial, the HR manager, I forget her name, but on the stand, she testified because he testified in the first trial, or he didn't. I can't. No, he did testify in the first trial. He didn't testify in the second trial. But in the first trial, he said he went out to investigate a noise. And what he had told his HR manager, what she testified to on the stand, was when he came back from investigating the suspicious sound, she was dead. In the second trial, she didn't testify to that. I don't know if the lawyers threw it out, but that was another account. So there was an account of a black man breaking in, and then he said there was maybe a stray bullet from across the street. They lived near the freeway. He said maybe a stray bullet had hit her. Um, at the hospital, he said, I don't know why she would have shaved her legs if she was going to commit suicide. There were just multiple stories.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So even with all the multiple stories,
Well, in the
it's
second
heartbreaking.
trial, yeah, in the second trial, like I said, the first trial, the HR manager testified that he had that, and nobody had heard that before, that he had said she was dead when he came back. And in the second trial, she didn't testify that. She testified again. And then the cops asked the HR manager to have him fill out like the life insurance form for my sister. On that, he put an accidental shooting. But they ruled out accidental because it was close range to her temple. So, it was either homicide or suicide. We never bought suicide because she was naked and my mom was her only parent and she didn't leave a note. And I believe if she would have attempted suicide, she would have left my mom a note. So, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
sorry, I was muted so I could get the Facebook group up. Um, so since because obviously now he's been acquitted, has he ever
Mm.
reached out to try and explain himself or anything like that, or has he just moved on and living life?
He's moved on, living his life. Before he was arrested, we asked if we could have pictures back, and he sent my sister in law some pictures because she thought if she were nice enough to him, he might have a pinch of conscience and confess. Um, all the pictures he sent back, none of them were of her. They were like pictures we had sent her or pictures of our kids. None of those had pictures of her. And I'm pretty sure he just destroyed them out of spite.
Well,
Mhm.
you'd think if he was innocent, he'd copy them for you, send them to you, and say, "I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but I'm keeping these."
yeah.
You know,
Well, at the funeral, he said he wished he never met her.
wow.
Yeah.
I know that
She
at the first trial, he also like made a point of saying he wasn't sorry and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, and it was so I was surprised that he testified, but his story about going outside and taking his big, oh my gosh, what are those great Weimaraner dog, taking him out and taking his gun out, and he could tell you step by step everything that happened until he got back to their home, and then he couldn't answer the prosecutor's questions. So, and
So
he was,
Smith Intuition's putting a few things in the chat. So I'm going to put it like this. So
yeah.
was there any reason for them to be arguing at the time? Like, was there an accusation of an affair, or was there
Mm.
anything like that? Like that gives a reason for, or was it all just so much out of the blue?
Um, so he said they were arguing, but it wasn't anything serious. He said that it was about a dog getting another dog or what they would use for the name of another dog. He said it was very mild. My mom was in touch with the detective and he said it was a really, really bad fight because, they had access to their phones and to their electronics, and It was a really, really bad fight, and his family knew a lot more than they were divulging. Mhm. It was also said in the tech or in the first trial, he would send her like just an insane amount of text if she wasn't with him, like, when are you going to be home? So just very controlling. And
Yeah.
the thing people might not understand, even if there's been no prior violence, um, when somebody who is abusive, controlling, if they feel like they're going to lose that control, I don't know if she said she was going to leave him, but if they feel they're losing that control, that's sometimes when they will do these
What's the difference?
these horrible things like, if I can't have them, no one can. Mhm. Yeah. I think he's a sociopath. And,
So,
th hmm?
no, go on. Go on. Sorry.
There was a life insurance policy. He definitely, gained from her death. I don't think that was the reason he killed her, but I think it probably was just something that he got the money eventually, not all of it. My mom tried to sue for it, and there was some kind of settlement between them, so she can't speak publicly about the case. But yeah, yeah. There was also an upcoming trip they had to Mexico, and I feel like he would have killed her there, because if it was out of country, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so one of my moderators is just asking when it happened. So, Karen, it happened in October 2012. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah,
So,
the art
2012 October,
mhm,
Karen.
mhm. Yeah, the
So,
argument started that Sunday, the 30th of September, and she was pronounced dead at 12:00, a little after midnight on, the 1st. Mhm.
so,
Um, hmm,
hold up. I'm not even
no
following
wor
the group. I thought I was
no
following
wor
it.
no worries, go ahead.
So, with the Facebook, what is it
Mhm.
that you're doing with the Facebook? Is it to build just awareness or
Yeah, so before we could publicly speak about it, before, just in the grips of the pain of losing her, my mom she got an idea to hike and to raise money for domestic violence awareness. And the first one we did was November 17th of 2012. And so I started the Facebook page to get awareness and to try to get information out and to reach out to others. And I'm not as tech savvy. I'm not tech savvy, period, or else it would probably be like a TikTok or Insta or something, right? But yeah.
yeah, I can't work TikTok out at all.
Yeah. Well, so it's been a little while. I think, like, with the pandemic, the first horrible time in this country, and then again, I think we kind of slowed down with the live fundraising. I've done a couple virtual ones and stuff, and whatever money we raise, we will give to a local shelter. So, yeah.
What was
Just
that? Can you repeat that part again? Sorry.
sorry, what part again? I'm sorry.
Just the part you were just talking about. How you was raising the money.
Yeah, so it kind of dwindled with the pandemic, and then everything going on politically right now. So we were doing stuff virtually, and then we haven't been as active lately. But the money, since the first one my mom did back in 2012, just weeks after losing Heidi, barely a month, we've always donated it. The first few years it was to the YWCA. And then there was another South Valley Services, another shelter that we donated to. So, yeah.
So you're trying to like give back through a name, like and help other people
Yeah.
in multiple situations, not just
Yeah. Well, and also it's just like it's so common. I don't know so much how common it is in your part of the world. In Utah alone, it's 1 in 3. Nationally, here in the States, it's 1 in 4. So Utah is high for the United States. And it's supposed to be this family friendly, it's just a bunch of crap.
yeah. There's a number of issues with Utah that comes up
Hmm.
for me when
Hmm.
I look at cases and things like that. Like
Yeah.
like there's
Yeah.
a guy. He seems like an amazing man. He's got a YouTube channel, a Facebook group where he goes out and he searches for loved ones in water, and he does do amazing work. But there's also the fact that he's a predator.
Oh, the
So
guy from Operation Underground Railroad?
no, it's actually Adventures for Purpose. It was, but I think he's
Oh, oh,
rebranched it.
oh, yes, yes, yes. I've heard of him too. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah,
Isn't it so sad that there's, you name a person and I'm like, oh, this guy, and it's another person, but they're
yeah,
both
yeah,
from Utah. Yeah.
yeah.
They're they're both from Utah and they're both supposedly nice guys, right?
Well, this is what I mean about him. Like, he's very manipulative because he did his content before and it was just straightforward. Yeah, we found him and
Mm,
things like that. But now, like, every episode, he seems to have a little cry with the family, and it's like,
mm,
oh, this is
mm.
new.
Uh, Typical. The perpetrator playing victim.
Yeah,
Yeah, my sister's killer was like when, people posted on Facebook, he'd call me, "Why is your family member saying that about me?" Just, "I was crying in the closet and I've spent so much money." And I'm like, "You've never said sorry. You've never, you know,
yeah.
he yeah. Even that night at the hospital, we live in around Salt Lake. So we drove down to the area they live in, maybe 30 minutes away. And at that point, the cops were already, they had called homicide and stuff because, like, he threatened the 911 dispatcher. He was combative with the cops. He wasn't letting the first responders, like the first responders couldn't even get in until the cops had, calmed him down. And yeah, he was just acting so bizarre and he was so inebriated. That's one thing I forgot to mention to you. I don't believe it was a factor in him killing her. Like, I feel like he would have killed her anyways. It might have been
Yeah.
a factor in the timing and that he didn't like cover his tracks better. Does that make
So you
sense?
think he was planning it on the holiday, but
Yeah.
because he was inebriated and whatnot,
Yeah.
that
And
He
the
basically
fight,
he had everything running through his head, and
that fight they had, the most dangerous time for a person is when they're leaving, like in a domestic violence situation. The most dangerous time is when they're leaving. So
yeah,
some people think that she was going to leave him, and I wouldn't doubt it. She showed up to work one time. We didn't find this out till the trial, but she showed up to work one time with a black eye, sorry. And someone asked her what had happened, and she said, marriage isn't what you think it is, or something to that effect.
wow.
And yeah, I don't have the statistics with me. I'm doing real great tonight, but some physical abuse doesn't start until after the marriage or even until a woman is pregnant. Like there might be things like control and manipulation, and you might not notice it, or love bombing. You just think, oh, this person's so into me, And he was a few years older than her. So, yeah. At the funeral, he also said he kind of like tricked her and he kind of lied to get her number. She was not interested in him. They had initially worked at the same place, and that's how they had met. So,
Wow. So even at the beginning, he was weird.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
so from an outsider looking in,
Mhm.
everything seemed. Did she not like say, like towards the end, I might need a place to stay.
No,
Um,
no, no. Not no. I wish she had. She even had a friend that said Heidi had moved her out of an abusive relationship. Heidi took her Toyota truck to her house and said, "Let's go," and she helped her pack up her stuff. Um, but
it sounds like it was very early on that he was starting to show his like true colours. Then, because like you said, law enforcement said there was something going on,
yeah,
and it wasn't something silly. It was something big, and
yeah,
she was actively helping people in that situation. So it sounds like it might have been that triggered it. Like you're giving
yeah,
other people attention because that's it's
yeah,
it's little things that trigger people in
yeah,
these like mindsets and that.
yeah. He was just weird. Like, for my 30th birthday, we went over the state lines to a hot springs, and he and Heidi had come along, and we were bowling, and he just kept leaving the bowling lane to go to the bar to drink. And he was fun until he wasn't. On the trip back to our respective hotels, he would not shut up. Like, he was just so annoying. And she was like telling him to be quiet. And he just had, like, he was like, what? He was just oblivious that he was being annoying and that everybody was over it. And I told her, I said, well, at least when you get back to the hotel, he'll probably pass out. And she's like, no, he won't pass out. He'll be like this. He'll get a bowl of cereal and he'll just continue on like this. And I was like, oh, I am so sorry. Like, yeah. So he definitely had a drinking problem. And I think the cops found out that he might have been doing like bath salts, and he might have also had a pill problem, like
Well,
a
the
pain.
police said that. Sorry.
Yeah, the police. So I heard things like, it's so crazy, stuff happens. And my mom was just So my mom was relentless with the detectives and with the Emmy and with the funeral home director. And I mean, she was not gonna like just let people not look into this, you know. Um, the detective really had to fight for them to even bring it to court. Um, and he said if they didn't take it to court down in Provo, he would have taken it up to Salt Lake City because Salt Lake City has a bigger budget. So it was a lot of politics, a lot of money, and we didn't have money. And somewhere in his family, they had money. Um, so, but my mom was relentless. Like she would call every day the detectives and yeah, she would just call people all the time and just see where everything was on the case. And for the longest time, he wouldn't even meet with detectives. After the first night at the hospital, he refused to meet with them. And so they finally went into his work. And after that, he wouldn't meet with them at all. He lawyered up. So, yeah.
So how was he acting at the hospital? Like, was you there or
Um,
like?
my my husband at the time went in to talk to him because he said when we got there, um, the detective that was there, he came out and he said he wants to talk to the family, and my mom was like, "No," because as soon as she found out the manner of death, she said he did it. Like she just knew. Um, My mom got notification from Unified Police in the city she lived in. Nobody from his family, because they got there before we did, they lived down there. Nobody from his family called. He like was acting like he didn't even know my mom's name. Like he didn't give them any information on how to contact Heidi's next of kin. They had to figure it out. And so they went to my mom's door and gave her the notification. And my mom called me. I was sleeping and she just said, Heidi's dead. And then I just started screaming. And my husband was like, what? And I was like, Heidi's dead. She's at the hospital. And so he was just trying to figure out what hospital she was at. And while we were en route to the hospital, he was calling and he said, my sister in law, she was in a car accident. And the nurse said, no, you don't understand. She was shot point blank in the head. And once my mom found out cause of death, she said he killed her. So she wouldn't speak to him. My husband went in and they tried to do an undercover thing with my husband since my husband was willing to go in and talk to him and you know but his family was on him like a hawk, so my husband wasn't able to get any information, not that night but the night, in following days.
Yeah.
um yeah,
So
so
Junior Johnson's asking, is the guy in prison? Junior, he was in prison. He was
3
sentenced.
years.
Uh, yeah, he was in prison for 3 years. He was
Mhm.
sentenced to 15 years to life, and
Uh-huh.
then 3 years later, sadly, he was acquitted. So,
Uh-huh. Hmm.
regarding evidence and things like that,
Mhm.
because he was saying that it was a black man, he was saying it was
A
all these
stray.
different things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Did they not what's it called? You know, test him for you know uh,
GSR.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, they let him wash his hands.
Wow.
Yeah, they I think not a lot of murders happen in Orem, where they were living. Um, Utah's not the safest place. We certainly have murders. I don't think a lot of murders happen there. Either that or they just are ill experienced. They let him wash his hands. Um, there was.
But did they not like
Mhm.
collect clothing? Because clothing, even if you wash it
Oh,
off,
he had blood all over his mouth. There are horrible pictures that my mom never forgave an ABC, a channel ABC news reporter. She never forgave him because he, in the Heidi story, he used a picture of him and he had blood by his mouth. And he said it was from doing mouth to mouth or CPR on her, but she was laying face down. And I'm not a medic or anything, but I've taken CPR classes, and
yeah,
you don't give CPR or mouth to mouth to someone face down. Um,
no, definitely
so,
don't.
and he let, I believe I mentioned the Weimaraner, he let that dog run all over the house. And I feel so bad for the dog. The dog was probably so traumatized, but the scene was definitely compromised. And the EMS, their first priority is to try to save the person. Their priority isn't to preserve evidence. So between the first responders, which I don't have any ill will towards them. I'm glad that their first priority is to try to save the person. Um, there is speculation that while he was on the phone with 911 and he had threatened to kill the dispatcher, I think he threatened to kill the one of the firefighters as well. But while he was on the phone, they said it sounded like he was shuffling things around. And the detective said to my mom, so I heard it secondhand, anyways, that he thought during that time he was like messing up the house, like oh my goodness, what is the word?
Uh, Karen, he was acquitted.
Yep. Yep. He was acquitted. He's free. I think he's going by another name. I don't know. Heidi Wagner was her maiden name. Her married name and was Truman, Truman. So, and while he was in jail, supposedly he was part of the Innocent Project, but you'll never see anyone in his family now that he's out of jail advocating for people that have been with him supposedly falsely accused.
Yeah. Well, you'd think they
Whereas
would. We've been there. We want to make sure that you know what I mean.
if it were
Kind
true,
of
if
like
he
what you're
were,
what you're doing.
yeah, but like the sister got up on the stand and she said, "Oh, he didn't say anything to her that night about what had happened." And I was like, "No, I've seen him when he's drunk. And my sister told me he does not shut up." So you can sit up there on the stand and tell us that he didn't say anything to you about what happened to Heidi. And I don't believe you. I feel like they know the truth, but maybe they didn't want their reputation tainted. They always kind of acted like they were better than Heidi. Um, they kind of would make fun of her because she didn't know her biological dad. That's what the sister said on Facebook after my sister was killed. So they're not the nicest people. The apple didn't fall far from the tree. So Yeah.
So they was mocking her because she didn't know her dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They did that to her in life, and that they threw around in the second trial. And they also mentioned I was bathing with her once because we lived in a house that had not a lot of hot water because it was, I don't know, it was the 90s. So there was only so
Yeah.
much hot water.
It's
And
Utah as well.
sorry?
It's Utah as well. So like you're out in the
No,
mountains.
this was in California, and it was
Oh,
in the
okay.
mountains. Yeah, but it was in the mountains, and they didn't have like the temperatures set, so you couldn't get scalded back then. So I was taking a bath. My mom brought her in so she could bathe with me, save some of the water, and I could help her out. She was a single mom of 8, and I had pushed my sister accidentally under the faucet and she was getting burned. And I was 8 or 9 and she was like 3 maybe. And I didn't know what to do. And so she had this burn mark on her back. And I always felt bad about it. And I apologized. And she was like, oh, we were kids. But they brought that up in the second trial. They didn't explain the circumstance around it. They just brought it up that she had been burned by scalding water as a child, just to make it seem like she had a horrible upbringing and that's why she had killed herself. So
So
when
something
all
that happened when she was a child, she happened
mhm,
to move on from it and get
mhm,
married. And do you know
mhm,
what I mean? And the
mhm,
it seems like they didn't have a case. It sounds like
mhm, mhm. And it was
they were
hard
just,
to hear. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. I was just saying they were just throwing things out and seeing what stuck.
Oh yeah. Well, that was it. They threw so many things up in the air. Oh, she didn't know who her dad was. Oh, she was burned as a child. Oh, this and that. And I'm like, I'm not going to say her
What I
life
don't
was,
understand, quickly, was it a different judge on the second trial,
it was the same judge. It
and
was the
he
same.
allowed it,
I'm sorry, what?
and he allowed it.
Yep. Yep.
I
Because
suppose, yeah, I
it was,
suppose what he was doing was he was allowing it, like, and it's the prosecutor's job. Like, I'm not attacking the prosecutor, but it's the prosecutor's job to shut these claims down.
yeah. Yeah. I think a lot had happened with the family. It was great that the detective was so forthcoming with my mom, but I think that might have also caused problems when it came down to it. And I don't blame my mom for anything because she was the driving force to get that to trial. The jury foreman, because my mom and sister, before the settlement, before she was not allowed to speak about it, on Dateline, the jury foreman of the second trial said, yeah, he probably did it, but we couldn't prove it without a shadow of a doubt. And I just never understood how somebody could think he probably did it and just not been a hung jury or something, It was just,
Yeah,
and they could come out and say it so coldly and kind of like chuckle, like, yeah, he probably did it, like it was a speeding ticket or something trivial instead of a whole human being. It's
yeah,
just, yeah, yeah.
like he'd run over a dog, like accidentally run over a dog or something like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was just, I'm like, did you really say that? Like on camera? Like, and there were just people on the Dateline thing that were like, yeah, the cops are dirty. They just wanted to frame this guy. I'm like, yeah, the cops just wanted to frame some white guy from a family with money of killing a half. We found out in court because they were talking about DNA and stuff. She was half Mexican. Um, so this rich or this white guy with money, they just want to frame this guy. And they were saying we had all this clout and these connections. And we're like, what clout? What connections? We were just every day, we're working class people, just taking care of each other, taking care of, our families. And then this horrible thing happened. And supposedly we have some clout to get somebody framed instead of saying, yeah, my sister committed suicide. If she had committed suicide, we would have accepted it and we would be doing things for suicide prevention awareness. Um, yeah, so.
Well, I'll agree with that because look, what you're doing for domestic violence now, like
Mhm,
I think you'd mirror in because like you
mhm,
um, you know why wouldn't you why would you go through all the trouble of doing this for domestic violence
mhm,
rather than doing suicide awareness? Because the whole point of you doing it is to save someone from in the same situation. So
mhm.
wouldn't you want to save someone in that situation?
Yeah, yeah, and I don't judge people who take their own lives. Like, we don't have that kind of stigma. Our family, culturally in Utah, with a predominant religion that we're not part of, there might be some stigma, unfortunately, still about suicide. Like, a lot of times in the obituaries, you'll see something that said they passed suddenly or something. We don't feel that stigma or that denial or that shame if she had committed suicide. And I do have family members from my dad's side that have committed suicide. And when I do suicide walks, like for people that I know, I'll write my cousins' names. I'm not, you know, um, yeah. So it's not like we just are in too much denial because I thought about it. I was like, at first, I did not want to believe it was him that did it. My mom said from the beginning, and I think it's a mother's instinct. She said from the
Well, I
beginning,
mean, it'd be easier for you if it was a stranger. Do you know what I mean?
uh huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was like, I mean, he always kind of hovered around, but there were times I felt jealous because I was like, my husband's not like, holding on to me in public. And I thought it was affection. But looking back now, it was probably him just wanting to know everything, and just being there.
And keep her
But
away from everybody else.
yeah, we did see her less, and she was starting to come around more as well. So yeah.
So Avery said she watched it on Dateline. She said, wasn't it a shotgun or a long rifle?
It was a Sig Sauer, so it's like a handgun. And for some reason, they kept trying to say it was her gun. But the guy where, they bought the gun, he remembered Conrad. He said he was really weird. And I was like, "Yeah, I think he would remember him." And he said he wanted a girly gun for his wife. And the gun she was shot with was a different gun, like the same type of gun, but it was like a different colored gun or something. I'm sorry, I don't know a lot about guns. My sister had her own gun. She didn't mind shooting, but the rest of my family has always pretty much not liked or owned guns. So yeah.
So Dateline, that's Nancy Grace, isn't it?
Dateline is not Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace covered it as well, and I liked her until I saw the coverage of it. And I feel bad because I actually told my family to watch it. And in court, they would warn us about bloody pictures. So we would look down whenever they would show, like, it was a head wound. So there was tons of blood. Plus, she was laying down in the prone position. So there was tons of blood, but they would warn us before there were pictures with any blood. And we would look down, and I don't know if you've seen a lot of court cases or maybe in movies, you think that there's one row on one side of the building of the courtroom for the defendant and one for the prosecution. We were literally sitting on the same bench. Literally, we would be right next to his family at times. It was horrible. And so we would be looking down, holding our heads down because the prosecutor or his assistant would let us know that there were some pictures coming up. And his family would just be staring at it like they were looking at previews to a movie or something. They did not look away. They did not grimace. They did not sigh. And they were probably told not to, but I don't know how you can look at the blood of somebody that you had known for at least 5 years at that time, and that was part of your family, even if they were married into your family, and just look at the pictures of their blood on the floor or spattered on the wall and just stare at it like it was a science experiment or something. They are strange people. They are
I
strange.
see, like we see it a lot where families will come out and defend someone who's indefensible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I watched a very similar case, and I actually thought, "Oh, hang on, have I watched this?" But it starts off. You watch the body cam. Police get in there. You listen to the 911 call and all
Mm-hmm.
these things, and then it goes to the interrogation. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that stands out is when you was telling the story, how he was acting when when law enforcement turned up and things like that. I was like, "Well, this is how that guy was acting." And then they got him out and they got
Mm-hmm.
EMS in, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Wow."
Yeah. 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 I just, and the judge scolded us at times if we like would cry or, so
If you
we
cry,
were, yeah, we were to be quiet. We also wore purple for domestic violence awareness, and the judge banned purple from the courtroom. And my mom dyed her hair purple since this had happened. So my mom's hair was purple. So we went down to a store in Provo and we got her some wigs so she could cover her hair. Um, yeah, during the breaks, we would sometimes run into his mother or his sister in the bathrooms.
so
Sometimes we would,
CJ cases, was there any gun residue on her hands? Because he was claiming
there,
at one point that it was
mm-hmm.
suicide.
Uh-huh. There was gun shot residue on his hands. I heard a story from a nurse. Utah things get around, and people know people know people know people, but the nurse there said that he was rubbing his hands really hard onto her hands, and that the nurse said I can't verify this story. This is just a story I heard. The nurse said, you got to go like bag her hands. So her hands hadn't been bagged up to that point. And there were some, mistakes made on the part of the investigators. But even with the mistakes made, I just have a lot of anger towards him, of course, because he's the one who did it, and the juror who just thought it was hilarious that, yeah, he probably did it. He also got new defense attorneys, and those defense attorneys were ruthless,
Well, I
ruthless.
watched a news clipping on it, and the first defense, it might have been the second one, but the first defense attorney, he was lolling about and that. Like I
Yeah.
seen him at one stage, like he dropped into his chair and he'd like just like huffed, like, and as he huffed, like his whole body just went into like a relaxed state. And I was like, what's he doing?
So if he had a funny mustache, I remember his name. His name was Ron Yengich, the first
It was
defense attorney.
like a blonde. He could have been white because he did look a bit older. But
Yeah,
like I think it was like um whitish, blondish, like, and
yeah.
yeah, big mustache. Yeah.
Yeah, that's young Ron Yengich, and it's kind of interesting. He was the one that told my mom he wouldn't say anything bad about Heidi. Um, but the second set of attorneys, there was Mark Hoffman, and oh, I forget the woman's name. Oh, mercy. Maybe it'll come back to me. They were no holds barred, gloves off, anything went. Because it was determined, even though the medical examiner had at first put undetermined, which is very common for medical examiners to do until the investigation says, oh, it was a suicide or it was a homicide, which were the only two options, being that it was so close to her forehead that it like burned, her flesh around the where the gun was pressed. My mom knows so many more details than I do, and there were things she kept from us. Um, but out of her love for my sister, she had to know. She had to know, and the detective thought that he had snuck up on her when she got out of the bath or shower, um, and had just, killed her. And yeah, she was brain dead right away. So, like in some of his stories, he says she came out and walked. And in the first trial, the surgeon was like, she wouldn't have been able to walk. And in some of his stories, he says that she said baby, and they're like, she wouldn't have been able to speak. And
Well,
yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, there are circumstances where um, these things do happen by some miracle, and
Hmm.
they go on to survive or things like that,
Hmm.
and they have very minimal life and things like that. But
Hmm.
also, they're not lying face down if they fall into
Right,
someone's arms because
right,
the person tends to cradle them.
right, right. Yeah, he wasn't holding her. Another thing I thought was very strange, the victim's advocate that went there to talk to him, thinking he was a grieving widower, she just kept commenting that he was pacing and spitting, like in his house, like spitting on the floor. And I was like, spitting? He was such a clean, like OCD guy. Why? I was like, was there a garbage can that he was spitting into? She's like, no, he was just like spitting on the floor. I think maybe he got some blood in his mouth when he shot her, and he was trying to get the taste out of his mouth. I mean, that's it could have just been that he was
He could have
just
got
so,
residue in his mouth,
yeah, yeah,
and he was trying to get the taste out of his mouth. It could have been anything, but
yeah,
like you said, like he was apparently, OCD and things like that. So
mhm,
that's not things that people with
yeah,
OCD do.
yeah. And well, in my opinion, he was OCD. I guess I can't really say for certain,
Yeah.
but he was very repetitive in what he'd say, and he was very, very clean. And, he was, yeah, he was just very, very odd. Um, oh shoot, I forgot where I was going, but it's okay.
So just to go back over the Facebook group again, let me just get it
Mhm,
up.
no worries.
So the Facebook group, just let everybody know. Oh, what have I done? Just let everybody know what you'll be doing with it. Okay, this is not working out. There we go. There it is. What it is you'll be doing with the Facebook group? Oh no, there it goes again. What you'll be doing with the Facebook group and things like that going forward.
So, if anyone ever wants to reach out to share their story or post pictures of their loved one, or we've always been open to sharing, and if anyone wanted a platform, we also do fundraisers for domestic violence shelters. Um, and I've also messaged, or people have messaged me and have told me because of Heidi's story. I know two people personally. One of Heidi's friend's sisters, um, her sister, well, her friend Monica went to her sister and said, "Look, I just lost my friend, and this is going to happen to you." And so Monica's sister left that relationship. And then I had a friend on Facebook that said because of Heidi's story, she left her relationship. And I didn't know that that friend was in an abusive relationship. Sometimes it's just so well hidden. Um, yeah. So,
So my moderator Princess said she's going to join. She's actually a victims advocate through Facebook. She helps missing people, domestic
I love it.
violence, people searching for justice, and she's also
I,
got a story herself to tell. She says once she's recovered, because she recently had surgery, she wants to tell
oh,
a story here.
okay.
But maybe she'll tell a story with you guys as well.
I love it. I am open for any suggestions, if you want me to share any pages, anybody's stories. We've gone past domestic abuse because we just want to help whoever and however we can. And I think that's how I saw your page and how you found out about my sister.
Yeah, well, like I started out. Well, technically we were just messing around. We just followed the Delphi case, which was 8 long years. And
Oh my
towards the end of
gosh.
it, we all met through chat rooms and that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted somewhere for everyone to get together. And
Mm-hmm.
we just had a laugh. And then the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to come up to interview
Mm-hmm.
Drew Collins from the Evansdale case. So
Mm-hmm.
after doing that, we kind of went back to having a laugh and that. And then we just fizzled into doing cases, bringing up case awareness and things like that. And I started looking through Facebook for cases, and I'd bump into families, or I'd find groups where you get in contact with families, and I started interviewing them and that again.
And I'm so grateful because even the YWCA in Utah, we stopped giving them money because it got to a point where they said the family has contacted us, his family, and they said, we'll take your donations, but we won't advertise for you. Like, we won't put it on our website, you know. So we were like, that's when we switched to a different shelter.
Yeah.
So,
So they couldn't
yeah.
even, you know, put the Facebook group's name on or anything.
No, at first they were able and willing, but then, like, either the family, because, you know, court was coming up, just like my sister, the headstone was paid for like a year, but conveniently the headstone didn't get put up until right before the trial, the first trial. And, you know, it's just for looks, you know, they didn't want, while he was going to trial, the YWCA, because that's one of the most well-known domestic violence shelters, I feel like, nationally here anyways. They didn't want his name associated with that. So,
Yeah. Well,
so hmm,
I want to thank you for coming on, and
thank-
maybe in a couple of months we can have you on again, and we can do this again, just to try and build awareness for domestic violence, and it might reach someone that it helps, or it can, you know, it's there for the awareness. If
I
that's something that you want to do down the line.
I am happy to assist, help, come back, whatever you are willing and able to do. I am just so grateful for this time and people listening to my sister's story. Thank you.
Well, Princess will reach out to you. Junior, if you Google the case and Dateline, you should be able to find it because that's how I found it. But
I
yeah, if
believe
you say again,
I believe it's called In the Middle of the Night or something. Is that what it was called?
I haven't got it off the top of my
I
head.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, it will be like a picture of them on their wedding day in the mountains or something. Yeah, you know. So
So Princess will definitely reach out to you. I know she's probably sitting there itching to do it now. To be fair, but she's
I
brilliant.
uh,
If ever like I have flyers to read and that, first thing I'll
yeah,
do is I'll go to her. Have you got one for this case? Just because they're readable.
yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate all of it. I look forward to chatting with her. I am just so grateful that after all this time, someone took interest. And, you know, the fact that two people left a bad situation and maybe we could reach more people or just get awareness out there, it just, it just helps, you know. It still hurts, it's still raw, but it helps, you know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, thank you on behalf of the channel and all the followers. I'm going to let you get back to your day.
Thank
And
you.
okay, thank you for coming on. Right, guys. So in the video, I've put a few articles for you to have a read and that on. Also, the Facebook group is in the description if you want to join. If you want to join the Facebook group, it's in there. What I'll do is I'll copy and paste the description, and I will put it in the comments for anybody interested in any of these things. If you didn't catch the beginning, please go back to the beginning and listen, because Summer goes into great details, and I think she did a great interview. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to hold you guys up. Um, I hope to be busy again this week. I will speak to you guys in the week.